Tonight's tactical enhancement is miniature. Tonight we're playing Team Yankee. 50 points, and this time it's Andrew versus Emilio. And I'll be standing back drinking some of the lovely alcohol that Andrew brought. And right, so it's a free-for-all because we couldn't be stuffed trying to figure out how to make the other missions work with only 50 points aside. And Andrew, talk us through what you've brought.
Sure, okay. So I've taken Afghanistan this time. So I've got 3 small companies of Afghanistan, or spigots. Then 2 companies of choppers.
Oh, that's 2 units of 2, is it?
Yeah, because you have to take at least 2 units of Afghanistan, and then you have to take at least 2 companies of helicopters. Like, that's a bare minimum for the formation. So that's why they split 2 and 2.
Okay.
Then I've got 4 shulkers.
Yep, there they are.
They're just finished painting today. And 4 BMP 3 scouts. Just finished painting today.
Scouts, so they're going to be on the top of it in 2 seconds flat.
And then a battery of acacias with an OP.
Alright. That looks like a lot of shit for 50 points.
Yes, but it's all Russian, so it's great. I mean, the shulkers alone are only 4 points for 4 vehicles.
Jeez, I would have thought there'd be more than that, but okay.
The platoons, they start at, the companies, they start at 4 points each.
Right.
Acacias are 5 points. Probably the most expensive unit there, actually, the BMP3s.
Right, well, they deserve to be.
Yeah.
They've got the move and shoot missile. And what's the AP on the spigots? 21. That's something to bear in mind. They get 3 shots each of those big stands. I've never had a day where there haven't been a pain in my ass. Okay, Emilio, talk us through what you've got.
Alright, so for the British, 50 points. At the front, you've got 4 Spartan blowpipes, and that's, I think you're looking at 6 points there.
Mm-hmm.
Next, you've got the Armoured Squadron headquarters, and that's the Chieftain.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got, and he's 6 points. And then you've got 2 lots of Chieftains, and they're 12 points each.
Righto.
And then the Harriers, we've got 2 in there. And those Harriers, I'm hoping I'll be able to use them to take out his helicopters. We'll see how we go. And also his ground troops. But that's 5 points for 2. Over here we've got our mechanised platoon, and I've paid a little bit extra, and I've got a few extra Milan in there. So there's 7 points for the platoon, plus another 2 points for the extra Milan that are there. So what have you got? You've got 4 GPMG teams, and you've got 3 Carl Gustav anti-tank teams, you've got a 2-inch mortar team, and you've got your 4 vehicles, your troop carrier vehicles in there as well, which I've used their machine guns in the past against troops.
3 dice, very effective.
Yeah, the Milan obviously are going to come in handy against any kind of tank or armoured vehicle. So
and actually Milan can shoot at helicopters. They just get a -1 to hit because they're a single shot weapon.
Well, I'm hoping that the Spartan blowpipes, which can shoot 2 shots at 48 inches with a firepower of 4+,
yeah, that's pretty good.
will do their job. And 4 of them, if they survive, there's 8 shots for anything that comes within 48 inches. I've measured the table, and if I put them in the right spot, they'll be able to hit everything.
Well, that'll be useful. Alright, well, this will be an interesting matchup because it's the elite, about as much elite as you can really get in 50 points. Those British infantry are basically Space Marines. Against a lot of extremely enthusiastic guys who will run headlong into machine gun fire.
Yes, they're quite fanatical.
And how old are they? Are they like 18-year-old recruits? Or?
No, these are the veterans.
Right.
Yeah, these
guys
are
72 years old.
These guys have been doing heinous things in Afghanistan.
They retired and they've been brought back into service.
Well, no, this is the 1980s Russia. It's not the modern one. But the story of Afghanistan is that this is people who came back from Afghanistan and stories have followed them, and even their fellow Russian soldiers look at them a bit funny. Well, so that's that, and we have Andrew's going for an objective here, and the other objective is just down there. So cool camouflage at the table, you can barely see it, but there it is. And Emilio's going for an objective there at the end of the road. And where's the other one? Oh, in here somewhere. Alright, this one on this road here. On that note, we'll deploy, and then we will check in briefly after that. Alright, deployment. It's worth looking at the Ruskies first. There is a carpet of village molesters here.
That's uncommon.
That's accurate.
That?
Bunch of AA have parked in some poor bastard's backyard. I noticed that you've parked a tank on top of his fucking garden dining set.
Show you that. That's
Look at that.
Freaking brilliant.
Look at that. I don't think that's going to carry the weight of a small tank.
I want to see the insurance claim that he puts in actually for that.
You know, if you actually read your insurance claim in Australia, at least, it doesn't cover you for war. So that table set is ruined, and he's not getting any money for it.
Yeah, shit. Okay, all right. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, well, at least he didn't deploy in the fucking playground. Some artillery in the schoolyard. God, that's horrific when you think about it. Choppers in reserve. We had a bit of mucking around with what we were doing for missions, and we got ourselves a bit confused. So the attacker is actually getting first turn to offset the fact that he chose his table edge, which has more cover on it. So that means the artillery and the choppers can't turn up on turn 1, but he can deploy in the open without any fear. And yes, there's an observer all the way over here who has a lovely line of sight down past the hill and the woods to some tanks that might shoot at him. We'll see how that goes. And as for the defenders, we have a couple of tanks there and the CO mining that flank because there's not much going for it yet. Tanks there holding the centre for fire support in both directions. There's AA in the woods. And all the infantry is over here with some extra Milan. And on that note, gentlemen, over to Ruskies, turn 1. And of Ruski turn 1, there's no artillery and the choppers couldn't come in. The infantry did their track and field exercises and ran full pelt toward the corner store, continuing the running theme of the Russians being more interested in looting the place for food than fighting. These guys hopped backyards, and there's some guys inside buildings ready to shoot out with rocket launchers. The BMP-3s moved up and destroyed any insurance claims that are possible for those cars there. And the big news is that Andrew spent a really long time trying to figure out how to maneuver his observer.
About 15 minutes on that.
About 15 minutes to figure out how to move the observer so the observer can see that tank there while not being shot by it. And he's found a spot that's just out of 40 inches where he can see it. So next turn, Andrew will start rolling in artillery. And that's it. That's the end of...
You don't roll forward out of cover. I think what you're doing.
Well, swings and roundabouts there. Anyway, so that's that for turn 1 Ruski. British turn 1, and it was very much an exercise in trying to not run forward heroically and die. The infantry stayed dug in. Can still go underground except for the Milans that were deployed too far forward, so they were moved back. There was a lot of considering what could be done, checking lines of sight and realising they weren't as good as we thought they were. Then Emilio moved 2 tanks up to where they're hidden behind that building and picked off the observer. It's kind of funny when you think about it. We spent, 15 minutes trying to put him somewhere where that wouldn't happen.
Yeah, still died on the first turn.
Yeah. They're a bit of a priority target in the Russian army, those guys. A bit less so in the Western armies. But that's it. That's turn 1. So over to Ruski, turn 2. Turn 2 Ruski, and it's time for more alcohol. It's not vodka, I should flag. What happened? Well, the AA moved up to here, so it brings some more shots to bear up that way in a minute. The BMP-3s moved up, dropped a couple of shots that way that didn't hit. This infantry moved up from the car park to there. Well, no, they moved from this backyard and ran up to the church. These guys stormtrooped into the building, took some shots that way and picked off an APC. These guys up here in the building picked off that AA vehicle blowpipe over there. And one of these other units over here, one that wasn't shooting at the APCs, tried to range in some artillery and failed. And that's it. Everyone's being very careful with what they're doing at the moment. But now it's over to the British, turn 2. British, turn 2. And again, they did very little. The infantry stayed concealed and gone to ground. These tanks turned around but stayed hidden because they're concealed from that stuff on the building there. And the CEO went and found himself a spot in the forest to hide. And the APCs moved out of RPG range, but stayed with the machine gun range and pumped a bunch of rounds into those guys. Did not kill any. Did you pin them? Did you hit them 5 times?
Yeah.
Oh look,
6 or 7 dice.
Someone's even got a proper marker.
Yeah. I'll lose that in a minute, don't worry.
Oh, they're very confident. They are aggressive. On that note, we'll move over to the Ruskies, turn 3. Okay, Russian turn 3, I think that was. And these infantry used the follow me move to get up close and personal. That's very up close and personal. Very, very up close and personal. They fired some spigots and things and picked off a bunch of APCs. The choppers came in. There they are over there. And the AA picked off one, and which is the odds. And then when the choppers fired, they buggered up their firepower roll and they only barreled one. So we're now, everyone else is just raining shot, really not doing much. So we're now into the British turn 3. Okay, end of British turn 3. They moved tanks into more advantageous positions and started dumping squash head rounds into the church and the corner shop. Didn't kill anything. That was a bit disappointing. One of the AA infantry APCs fired some rounds, didn't kill anything. More importantly, the Harriers came in over there and had a swipe at the choppers. The AA had a go at them, but only 2 AA vehicles were in range, and they didn't kill any Harriers. Unfortunately, the Harriers, after doing a very good job of getting there and dumping out rounds, fluffed all their firepower. So nothing died. On the plus side, the British infantry here, they stayed concealed and gone to ground, but they unpinned. The Russian artillery will range in on them again. So it's quite likely these guys will be pinned. But if this enormous, massive infantry here wants to dig out the British infantry, they're going to have to roll a lot of 6s to hit. So it really could go either way. And we'll find out at the end of Ruski turn 4. Russian turn 4, and my wasn't it exciting. Over here, some infantry moved up into the hospital. Some artillery was called in by the battalion commander, who's about, there he is, over there, and it bailed out. No, a chopper bailed out that tank, actually. The artillery he called in destroyed a tank. Meanwhile, the spigot teams got busy and destroyed another tank, so one of the British tank platoons is gone. Now, the choppers decided to rain hell on those guys on the hill up there, and Emilio's AA worked a treat and blasted 2 of the buggers out of the sky. And the last one bailed a tank. So we'll see what happens with that platoon. It's possible they'll run away. Dangerous small platoons. The really exciting thing is everybody who could piled fire into the British infantry here who were dug in. And by everybody, I mean a spigot team that had no other targets, bunch of RPGs, shit ton of AK teams, and some BMP3s. And they pinned them, sheer volume of fire. But between Emilio's saves and Andrew's crap firepower rolls, all the British survived. And Andrew pushed in an infantry assault with 1 platoon here, a separate infantry platoon with 1 assault there, and they were both knife edge. They could have gone either way, 50-50.
And I was pinned as well, so I had a reduced rate of
Yep.
fire.
So it was just the exact right amount of dice to...
Good work, Emilio. You made it by 1 dice.
In fact, you know what? Yeah, you actually rolled above the odds to pin both attacking platoons, because I think statistically, it was right on the odds. You had to get exactly the odds in order to pin the platoons. And then Andrew rolled rather badly for his infantry saves and lost, 5 stands across 2 platoons with that shit? 4 stands across 2 platoons. Yeah, pretty rough. So they've been pushed back. The British infantry are still dug in. We'll see if they unpin. If they do, they're going to dump a lot of firepower back. And we'll see. So there's quite a lot that can still happen in the British turn. So over to British turn 4. And the British turn 4. And the Harriers turned up again. Navigated the way through 18 dice worth of AA fire, only one of which actually hit, and didn't kill the plane. And then they went and wasted the last of the what are those things called? Hinds, yeah. So a moment of glory. They finally fucking did something. The most amazing thing is they survived. Then Emilio poured pretty much everything except for the hidden AA units. In fact, with his infantry here, popped their heads out of their holes and just went bananas, emptying their magazines at these guys in the church. Pinned the shit out of them, but killed nothing. That's quite a lot of dice too. And by quite a lot I mean about 18 dice. Didn't kill a thing. And that's it. That's the end of British turn 4. And gentlemen, are we doing a turn 5?
Or do we stop here and...
Neither of us are going to win. I don't think you're going to get to that or that. I'm definitely not getting to that one.
No.
This one will
And I've still got a whole full...
Yeah, I mean, look, the British have got 2 functioning platoons, an HQ, and the planes.
I lost my mortar, guys. That was it.
Yeah. So the guy that hides at the back is still there. And you got a very small Milan platoon, so I don't think the British are going to break. In order for the British to get through to an objective, basically what has to happen is all the infantry companies need to break, and then
I could chase my HQ could make a run.
Yeah, and your AA, but then there's enough stuff that can kill them. There's a spigot and the other spigots. You basically and those things. So basically, what's got to happen is to get through the Russians is you have to break the infantry, which would most likely happen if they tried to assault this objective.
Which I wouldn't. I'm just going to stand there and shoot it.
Yeah, because at the moment the only thing you've got to assault with is a couple of random stands and a whole bunch of RPGs and these 6s to hit and melee.
No, these were just going to sit still and shoot. Now that it's a 5+ to hit. Then I'm going to move this company up through cover and attack from the flank.
So at around about turn 9, you might get the objective.
It would take me at least 2 turns to get into position.
Yeah, and meanwhile there are still some units in there which have got machine guns.
No, Milan is still strong.
And assuming Andrew basically smashed all his infantry apart trying to assault dug-in British, the British would be trying to Carl Gustav these things, then try to Carl Gustav those things, and then try to Carl Gustav those things.
Okay, yeah, 20 turns later.
So yeah,
Harry's got any viable targets, or they're going to get shot out of the sky?
they will get shot. I mean, look, they're living a charmed life. They should have been gone last turn and possibly one of them the turn before. You could do a suicide run on these fellas, but it really is a suicide run. You're relying on Andrew to roll like he did last time.
16 dice and whiffed.
18
dice.
Yeah, and I got 1 hit.
So it could be that the British and the Russians decide, you know what, we're fucking boned. Whoever sticks their head out next is dead.
Yep.
And wait for reinforcements and make your excuses to your commanding officers. What's it going to be, gents?
I'm pretty happy to kill 4 tanks. That's a Russian victory for me.
Well, I'm happy to have killed 4 Hinds and stopped 2 platoons from doing a frontal assault.
Yeah, what we can't see is the massive array of dead. Well, it's actually not a massive array. I mean, it's probably about 16 or so dead Russians.
4 stands, yeah.
4 stands, and is that all? No, there's 5 stands of infantry have been killed all up.
Yeah, I think one died early on.
So 20 odd dead Russians plus 4 dead Heinz versus 2 dead British and 4 dead tanks.
And 4 chieftains.
Mm.
We're missing those tanks.
That's amazing. I mean, it's a weirdly low casualty game for two forces that are pretty much exhausted.
You blew up 2 tanks, but 2 tanks went away.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, that's what we need.
An unlucky roll.
That's what we need to note. That last hind, before it got eaten alive, shot at a chieftain, bailed it, but then it didn't get in, and the last tank had to do a standalone test, and it went away. And that,
very unlucky.
Yeah,
that's super unlucky.
And if I'd passed that test, there could have been another 4 dice into the building, and those dice would have.
I think that swung the game.
And I have to say, this is not the first time this has happened. Many games we've had where we've not managed to kill the British tanks because we're hocking 5+ firepower RPGs into them, but we bail them, and because they need a 4 to get in and a 4 to stick around, I've seen platoons of 3 British tanks just bugger off the table over and over again.
My headquarter tank chieftain, it's a 3+. So he's actually his stat line's better than my normal chieftains because it's HQ.
And if he was within range,
if he was within 8 inches, of the surviving tank.
Maybe that's something to keep in mind is just keep your company commander close to you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he was close, but not close enough, was that?
Yeah, no.
Yeah, that's was it 6 inches, 8 inches, something like that? It's worth noting that Andrew and I had our first game in several months, a couple of weeks back.
A year.
Nearly a year, and Emilio and I hadn't played in
It's been a long time.
The same, over a year, something like that. So it's a bit of getting refreshed into the game. And Emilio actually played a pretty tight game.
Very tight game. Well done, Emilio.
Look, I think from the very beginning, the terrain was not working to my advantage, and
at the end of the day, you start the game dug in, concealed, go on the ground. So you're in a building anyway.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing is,
so infantry bring their own buildings.
So just the way the buildings were laid out is you could actually jump almost from building to building to building.
I would have done it this way anyway.
It provided you full cover, so my chieftains didn't actually have.
That was
very few.
That was always going to be the way, and I actually thought it was going to be infantry versus infantry. I was a bit surprised when you turned up with so many tanks.
I was very surprised and quite happy that you brought tanks.
But but being on this side, you actually had it really forced the Russians to clear the last bit of ground in the open.
Yep, which was deadly.
Yeah. It could have worked in your favour.
It's really hard to attack.
Oh yeah, it takes a lot of work. Gentlemen, what have we learned?
Andrew's a very experienced and seasoned player, and he played the best game he could play. I could see the tactical manoeuvre of attacking. You said you're going to attack in this game, and you did attack. You did it. I don't think you could have done it any other way.
It was a 50-50 in the end, I think, without assault.
Yeah.
If one of them got through, I would have.
Well, you did it perfectly because you had the numbers. You got in close. You didn't take any casualties going, in these buildings coming through.
Yeah.
So I tried to soften you up. I couldn't soften you up. So you had, I guess, the best opportunity to be successful in an assault with 2 platoons. But the dice didn't work for you.
It was a 50-50 crapshoot, and I'm happy with that.
And you had 2 platoons to roll 50-50 with, so I think you did it right.
Well, you try and stack the odds as much as you can, but sometimes they just don't pan out.
I don't think you're ever going to capture the objective in that turn's assault, but you would have laid the groundwork by pushing him back and putting him in the open.
That's why I moved up this third.
That you would have been able to get there in the end.
Yeah, and I think as well, what have I learned? Instead of 5 chieftains, I think 3 would have been.
Just
for this game, it would have been 3, and then the point side could have then put into maybe sort of barrage units or something.
Or just have 2 infantry platoons.
2 infantry platoons.
Interestingly, when we started this game off, we did the attack defense thing and then rolled up missions, and we didn't use them in the end because it was the night's ticking on and it's too much like hard work. So we ended up doing a free for all, but. One of the reasons we didn't do the attack defense thing is because with that many tanks, with that much armor, all in deep reserves, the Russians basically just would have swarmed in there before the reserves turned up. Whereas if you'd had 2 platoons of infantry, 1 platoon of tanks, and maybe some other support,
I could have just done what I did here, but
you could have
move troops this way.
you could have done something like a bridgehead mission viably, and it would have been a totally different game.
Or even trying to make a run for that objective.
Well, we would have been playing a different mission. You would have been dug in, waiting for that platoon of tanks to turn up, and maybe one other reserve unit. But meanwhile, Andrew would have been trying to deconstruct something like this, but with artillery support, which is a very challenging game to try and pull off. And it would have been a different kind of mission and different challenges.
But I've also learned there's so much we can do with 50 points. And it's a nice size. I don't think there was any congestion in this game.
No, it looks nice.
Everything just moved where it needed to go.
Yeah.
I mean, for some reason, everyone likes to hang out in the school, but I guess that's what happens when you put it on the back line. I'm still waiting for the day where I can fire a Milan off of the play equipment and relive my childhood dreams. Hasn't happened yet, but we'll get around to it. We definitely need to do some more 50-point games. This is a crack. All right, well, on that note, everybody, thanks for watching. Feel free to hit like, subscribe, express your opinions in the comments section. But for now, it's time to call it a night.